Hey everyone, welcome to the Vegan Stew. Super excited. This has been in the works for like 6 months. We have been having meetings on Wednesdays, on and off, floods and all this other stuff happening to kind of get this going. We threatened to go in August. Didn't happen. And here we are, September 8th. This is the inaugural premiere episode of the Vegan Stew. We are going to be stirring the pot. We are going to be challenging one another. We are going to challenge you. We are going to share conversation and topics so that you can. Let me see, there's comments. Oh, 5%. There's comments. So we want to hear what you have to say. And I want you to hear our conversation. And I want you to see that 6 women from all over the country can have like intense conversation at times because our topics are going to range anywhere from honey to James Aspie, everything in between. And we just want to show you that we can sometimes get heated, but at the end of the time that we're with you, we still love and care about one another because women can have conversations and still come out on the other side with conflict, disagreement, and having an interesting conversation and just, get along. And that's what we want you to be part of. I want you to share in the comments about our topic. We're going easy this week. We're going really easy this week. We're going with our vegan why, but we're going to have a current event section. That's what we're going to start with. And today's current event is going to be climate change because, it's pretty current and happening right before our eyes. So I'm Helene. I am the founder of Triangle VegFest, executive director of nonprofit and VegFest Expos, and I'm going to bring everybody on so you can meet them. And thank you for everyone that's here. I see there's people here. So I'm bringing everybody on, and let's see. Here's Kimberly Winters of Did You Bring the Hummus? And there's Sangita Gabal of Tilted Planet. And there's Marla Rose from Vegan Street. And she's missing, but she's there. It's really weird. And then we have Angela Yvonne of Pop Eats Vegan. And then we've got Laura Ball of Plant Powered Studios. Because I want to call it something else, but it is Plant Powered Studios. And we are your hosts. Each week, a different one of us will be doing what I'm doing right now as the host or MC of the week, depending on the topic. But we're going to start out by sharing with you a current event because it's important to us that we kind of talk about what's going on in the world, in the vegan plant-based world. And we're going to start out with climate change. And Angela Yvonne, I'm going to throw it to you because you're living it.
Well, I'm just super excited to be on tonight. This is going to be a great show. But talking about climate change, I live in New York, and over a couple of days ago, we experienced flooding. 40 people died here in New York City because we were not ready for what came about. Now, climate change is something that is happening all over the world. And you know that it's rapidly, starting to grow because, a couple months ago, you saw snow in Houston, here in New York, we're getting heat waves, and it's just a big old mess. So what are you ladies thinking about reasons about why climate change is happening? And what are your thoughts about how we can go ahead and try to nip this in the bud? Because Mother Nature is not happy with us.
Mm-hmm. So we have utensils to say we want to go, just so you know. So this is something I feel is incredibly important because we have climate change happening before our eyes. And there's so many people that don't want to do anything about it. And there's one main thing that we can do about it, and that is to change what we're eating. And all these politicians and governors and just people in these states that are impacted, like New York, New Jersey, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Coast fires and floods or lack of water. And they say things like climate change now. They say things like infrastructure needs to be fixed. Who cares if we fix the infrastructure if we don't change what the actual problem is? That we need to have that solution because we can't fix the infrastructure to fix climate change. Mm-hmm. We have to fix the climate change by fixing what our actions are. And all this happened, and I wrote on my Facebook page, is now the time to talk about climate change? Because,
Mhm.
after there's gun violence, the
Right.
conversation goes to, is now the time to talk about, gun, like gun laws? Because, people died and it's like, oh, it's too soon. It's too soon. Is it too soon to talk about climate change? People died.
Mhm.
People lost their homes. People have no water.
Right.
And we can do something about that.
It's frustrating to me because it feels like so much of what we do as a society is always in band-aid form and stopgap form, and if there's anything that this pandemic has taught us, is that people don't necessarily make the right decisions when push comes to shove. And so, like with climate change actually in our backyards, literally happening, and having the worst effects on the most vulnerable people, the poorest people, primarily, communities of color. Um, I just wonder sometimes if you know, what would it take for people to care? What would it take for people to make strategic moves to, um, you know, um, improve outcomes for the planet? And that's why veganism to me is such a powerful tool. It's just something that you can do every day, passively even, to create change. And anyway, that's all I have to say on it. It's just
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
and the resources that overall food production system uses is appalling. We don't seem to pay attention to that. How much of land, how much of chemicals we put in the ground, and then we are we are growing grains and then feeding those grains to the animals instead of directly then eating the grains ourselves. I think that is a wasteful enterprise, and we need to definitely question that and spread the awareness about that. And food waste is another, like wasting of resources in making your food is one major factor, but food waste overall is another major factor, particularly in the first world countries.
Mhm, mhm,
That's true. And I figure that loss of homes, loss of life, loss of cars is enough. Hopefully, the selfish people, like when it hits home, tends to be when people start to make changes.
right.
But then
But that's the
COVID.
thing is
So
that we see that from. I mean, I know it's not the same thing, but we see from people's responses to the pandemic that when push comes to shove, a lot of times people still will find excuses. So
I guess it's
I try not to be.
the question whether we as a society will do something about it will depend upon whether our instincts are governed by our consciousness or not.
it's true. That's a good place to. Kimberly and Laura, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say it's climate change is an inconvenient truth,
Mhm,
especially for Americans, pun intended. We've known about this for how long, and we continue to refuse to do anything about it. And then we only get upset when it affects us.
mhm,
And that's really what I think gets me. And, you know, we know now that we don't need meat or dairy to live and survive. In our whole lives, we were told, how are you going to get your protein? This is bad for you. Being raised, in vegan, even vegetarian lifestyle, the very beginning of my childhood, I had many doctors say, you're going to die from not eating meat. You're not going to make it not having your calcium from milk. And it's such BS. And, I think it's time that we stop with the excuses. We're out of time. We are out of time. And as inconvenient as that may be, what are you going to do about it? And that's really my question for the audience today is what are you going to do? How are you going to help fix this problem that you've helped create? And it's on us now. And it's unfortunate, but it is the reality. So that's my 2 cents on the matter.
That's awesome, Angela Yvonne.
mhm,
Yes. And in my thoughts about it is that I think the people know that we are running out of time. because all of a sudden you see the multimillionaires who can afford it are now trying to find new terrain, like going to Mars and things of that nature. So I think that they know a little bit more than what they're telling everybody, and what's going to happen is it's going to be the land of survival, because those who can afford to leave and go to Mars and live in a bubble and live in, the futuristic city will be able to go. And then the ones who aren't are going to be left here to take care of the mess that was left because of these multimillionaires. So they're finding that they're going to find a way to go. But I read something, I forgot which magazine or online digital space, that we have about maybe 5 years. We have about 5 years to really nip it in the bud on what we're going to do, because once the 5 year mark gets here, then we're out of time. So then we're going to have to really figure out how to adapt. And I tell people now that this is the time for you to go plant-based, vegan, because sooner or later that steak is going to be costing you $500, just like when we couldn't get an avocado. Y'all are going to be paying for those steaks, so you might as well come on over to this green side. Just come on over and be all right with yourself. That's it.
Yes, and I would love to just say, to your point, Angela, greed isn't sustainable. And I don't think there's one thing that's upsetted me more than seeing a space war between two incredibly rich men and not doing anything to help this planet. Is so infuriating. And one of them being one of the biggest contributors to our carbon footprint, Amazon.
Absolutely.
And there's so many things that they can do to prevent that, and they refuse to do anything. And that's what I think we need to come to an agreement to as a society, is that the way that we're living with this greed isn't sustainable. That's how we've ruined this planet, and this is how this planet will die.
Yes.
Kimberly.
So I think a huge problem, right, when we, when Helene, when you were like, maybe if it's touching people in their lives, they're the ones losing their cars, their homes, their families are dying because their house was flooded. Maybe if it hits them, then that will make them change. But I think the problem, especially here in the US, is that we're always expecting someone else to do it. I don't need to do this. Somebody else is going to do this. I'll just wait for another person who is braver or has better connections or has more money or wants to do it instead of me. And then to a point Marla made earlier, that like being vegan, like you can be passive about it. You don't have to be here on a live show talking about veganism. You can just make those choices in your own life and still have a significant impact. You don't have to be out and be an activist. So, choose how you want to do it, but do it so that we have a planet more than 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the starfish. Remember, everyone, that you can, as an individual, you can make a difference. And just go look up the starfish story, because I want Sangeeta to say what she says, and we'll move on to our vegan wants.
Yeah, so one quick comment is that there is a big ethical question that nobody is asking these billionaires who are going to Mars is, why are they using resources on Earth to go to Mars? Right? They should be asked that question, and it's imperative that they're going to add to climate change. What is the environmental impact of all these rockets shooting up?
That's a good point. Well, thank you, ladies. That was a great conversation. Current event is climate change. It could be the current event every week. Wait, Marley, got one more thing to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say really quick to sort of just tag on to what Kimberly was saying, is not only do people kind of expect someone else to carry the weight of creating change, we also kind of place the burden of guilt on others, or I should say responsibility. So it's like, it's this industry or that industry. Well, what's our role as consumers? Our most powerful role is to step out and not engage, and to say, I am not funding this industry anymore. So why more people don't just embrace that is beyond me. Anyway,
I
that's
agree,
it.
Marla. And also,
Mhm.
we're on the same team, right? And
Yeah.
that's what always irritates me too. Like, hey guys, same team. We all live on the same planet. And while I think space exploration is very, it's something we need to do, but let's leave that to NASA. Let's not leave that to two of the richest men on the planet. You know, you want to help with that? Great. Donate to NASA. And why don't you do something about the way that you two are doing business that actually negatively affect and impact our planet?
Thank you. It was a great discussion. It's for our first one. Yay. And granted, we all get along, but I can't wait for the ones where we don't. Just so you know, it's why you want to keep watching every week. So just a reminder, we're every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and every Wednesday except for the first Wednesday of the month. We need to plan. So we take a Wednesday to do that, or a break, or something, whatever it is. But each week, we're going to go into a more specific topic for us to the really juicy part of the conversation, the really like get in there, stir the pot, type of conversation. But this week it's a softball because it's all brand new for all of us. So we're going to make it pretty easy. And we're going to talk about our vegan why. And this is the only time that we're going to tell you why we're vegan. So if we're asked in the future, why are you vegan? We're going to refer you to this episode because most vegans are frustrated with being asked, why are you vegan? So here we're going to go, and this is who we are, and watch it again if you want to know. And I'm going to start us off. So why am I vegan? Well, I started as a health vegan, not vegan actually. I started. Oh, my Siri just came on. Let me see if I get rid of that. That's so funny. I didn't ask her. So actually, I switched over for health reasons, and I've been in this for over 30 years. So I went full vegetarian when I was 19 years old. At 15, I gave up red meat. By 19, at 18, I met a vegan activist, like, what do I call him? He had a mohawk. It was a lot of fun. I met him. His name is Scott. And when I was 18, that was 1988. So a vegan in 1988 didn't drink anything. He drank some really, really disgusting soy milk, which I was like, that's so gross. But there was not a lot of vegan food at that point. At least there always is, because apples, bananas, and all that. But I thought that was like he was going to Manhattan with like protesting animal rights and everything. And I understood animal rights way before I understood going vegan, because I went vegetarian, but I also went cruelty free. And I stopped wearing leather, and I changed I went that direction, oddly enough, without changing the eggs and the dairy, part of my diet. And that kind of ebbed and flowed over 30 plus years. I moved to, Hi, Diane. I moved to North Carolina. I lived in New York, California, and I took my moving to North Carolina to go vegan. I met an incredible community here in the Raleigh-Durham area. And I moved here in June of 2011. My 10-year anniversary just passed. And by October, it's fall. The fair time is when I kind of go with it. Whenever the state fair is, that's when I made the decision to go vegan. So I went to the state fair as a vegan, and there was no food. It took 2 hours. I went to state fair hungry as a vegan, and it took 2 hours to find anything vegan at the state fair. And I was really hungry. So I will not forget that. I just don't know the dates. So North Carolina is what made me go vegan, and I started as health reasons, but I already understood the ethical and just kind of ran with it. Started producing vegan festivals and expanded to multiple states. And my activism is events, and we reach tens of thousands of people every year by producing vegan festivals. And of course, Virtual Veg Fest Live because of COVID, the Vegan Stew now because of COVID, because this probably wouldn't be happening if COVID didn't happen. This wouldn't have even been an idea that I would have even come up with. And thanks to all these women, I asked them if they wanted to be part of it. And here we are. So my why is obviously for the animals, for the planet, for the human being's health, for everyone's health. You know, every single day, that's what I do. I fight for all of that, for all of us, the planet, the animals that inhabitate it, and for all your health. It's what I do every single day. So I'm going to throw it at Kimberly.
Thanks. I was muted. Oops. Classic. So I went vegetarian in July of 2001. So I've hit 20 years since that day, just 2 months ago. I'd gotten a magazine in the mail, PETA's Animal Times, and I don't know why it came to me. It was addressed to me. It was in my mailbox. I never filled out anything. I don't know why it showed up, but I am forever grateful that it did. I read it cover to cover, and I was up sick, both physically and emotionally, all night long. I had dined on a gourmet meal of fast food cheeseburger before I had read the magazine, and it was just so emotional. I was 20. Yeah, I was 20. And so I was still living at home, and I kind of made the same kind of change that Helene did, where I got rid of all the animal products in my life. Like I gave away my leather shoes and handbags and whatever, and I stopped eating animals except eggs and cheese. And I would go vegan, and then I would start eating cheese again, and then I'd go back to being vegan. And then I finally went vegan for good, forever, about 5-6 years ago. My reason for doing that is that I just don't see how I could ever justify being part of the cruelty and the suffering that is using animals for human convenience. And when I went vegetarian, I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know what to eat. I ate so much pasta. Oh my gosh, you'd think I wouldn't eat it anymore, but I still do. But I ate pasta like 3 times a day as I tried to figure out, what do I eat? Because there was not a vegetable that I was like, yay, put that on my plate. No, thank you. I had to learn how to like vegetables. And so I did that, and I learned how to cook. And then I had to figure out how do I share this? Because this is the single most beautiful, loving, powerful thing I've ever done in my entire life. How do I get more people to do it too? And it took until last year, really. I mean, I've always had conversations. Anytime someone was willing to listen, I was willing to answer questions and talk to them about why I was vegan. But in September of 2020, actually, today is the 1-year anniversary of my podcast, Did You Bring the Hummus? It was a Toastmasters project. It required a lot of work. And I thought, I better talk about something I care about, right? And so Did You Bring the Hummus was born. And I realized that my activism is using my voice, sharing my story, and getting people to see things from a different perspective. So that is why I'm vegan. Over to you, Sangeeta.
All right. So when I hear this question, why are you vegan? I think there are 2 parts to it. For us, particularly those who are vegan for a long time now. Part 1 is, why are you vegan? How did you go vegan? And why are you still vegan? Don't you feel missed out? Don't you miss out on things, that sort of thing. So why I went vegan, and I have a little bit of a confession here to make, and maybe some of you or the viewers, maybe somebody will resonate with what I'm saying. So I was dating my now husband, Dilip Barman, right? And because of him, I got introduced and exposed to the ideas and the arguments about veganism. I am a lifelong vegetarian, but when it came to dairy, even though he had explained to me how brutal the dairy industry is to the calves and the cows, I knew the facts. I knew that these are the facts. But the confession I have is it did not move me to go vegan. And what happened is when I understood the impact of the animal agriculture on the environment, that's when something changed. It almost like a switch flipped, some kind of a switch went, off to on or on to off. I don't know what happened. But after that, I started calling myself a vegan. And the second part of the question is that why did I stay vegan? It's because a year after going vegan, I realized that I had become healthier. I had not fallen sick, which I used to fall sick multiple times a year. That all went away. That's when I understood that a lot of my health issues were stemming from my intolerance to dairy. And since that went away and my health keeps getting better and better, and that is what keeps me going. And of course, now I have understood the argument about, how brutal the industry is, and I don't want to be a part of that animal suffering. But that honestly is an afterthought. So that's my story. So over to you, Laura.
All right, thank you. And yeah, I would say the first reason I'm vegan is I'm not an asshole. I think not being vegan is super selfish. I mean, who are we to say, yeah, you should die for me to eat you when it's not necessary? Or I should take your baby away because I want to drink your milk, even though I'm not a baby myself. And that's always been my thing is there is no good way. I don't care if it's grass-fed, organic, they're frolicking in a field and you're taking their milk. There is no good way to kill something that doesn't want to die. And it shouldn't be up to us to dictate that. And that's kind of always been my thing. I was pretty fortunate. My parents turned us, but vegan first, then we went vegetarian and then vegan again. Long story. But, essentially they started when I was about 3-4 years old in Frankenmuth, Michigan, in the early 90s. And so that was an experience in itself. I upset a lot of people in my school telling them that they're eating cow hooves with their Jell-O. But, for me, that was, it was a great experience being raised in that and learning compassion and knowing where my food comes from. And I think that's a big issue today is that a lot of people don't understand what's in their food and where it comes from and what you're actually contributing to. And so that's why I'm vegan is it's for the animals, but it's also just for me selfishly, because I want to feel good about me and what I'm doing, the choices I'm making. And I could never feel that way. Eating dairy, wearing leather, eating meat, absolutely not. And so that's why I'm vegan.
Well, to follow that up, the reason why I became vegan was, my mom had breast cancer. And when she got breast cancer, I knew that it was in the food because McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A, they knew my name. I was there. The number two cheeseburgers, large fry, chocolate shake was my thing. But when she got breast cancer, I became vegetarian because I was just like, oh, it's in the food. I'm no longer eating red meat. And I was still eating fish every now and then. I was still eating mussels and, oysters and things of that nature because I didn't feel that it was that harsh compared to eating chicken and red meat. So when I moved to New York 5 years ago, my roommate and I, we were just like, oh, it's Veganuary. Let's go ahead and we're just going to, do the 30 days and give it up. So after the 30 days, I kept going because I was just like, I'm eating all this good food. I'm not harming anybody. And, I was in a mourning process when I moved to New York. So I was also, getting into, I was working out every day and I just wanted to show up healthy and my authentic self. And that was also, growing in spirituality, growing in, mental work and things of that nature. And I didn't see or feel that me eating meat would be an asset to that lifestyle. So as the months went on, I just, of course I would have a fallback, as in eating cheese, because, we live in New York, they have great pizza. And I was, I was a baby as far as learning about veganism, being in the plant-based life and things of that nature. But then when I started to really take it seriously, I was just like, oh, I have to tell everybody about this, because you're not going to believe the kind of food that I'm eating. And visually, it was stimulating. And then, it also was assisting with spirituality, as far as, not harming anyone, being good to the planet and all these different things. And I was wanting to shout it from the mountains. And I was just like, oh, you know, I'm the new it girl. Y'all need to get like me. Y'all need to be on the green side, because what y'all doing is whack. And what we're doing is cool. So you need to be a cool kid. So I was just like, yo, the more that I jumped into the community, I also felt like it was a very accepting place, because it didn't matter racially what it was. We all had a common ground, because we were all, working to be a better person, or working to be in a better space and things of that nature. So, yeah, I've been vegan for 5 years. I will never go back, and I'm not saying that in them 5 years I didn't have a slip. And even, we've had discussions where, I think they were saying that mussels or oysters or one of those weren't really even vegan. I couldn't even bring myself to be like, oh, I can go back, because it still was part of a kingdom, whether it was in the water, whether it was on land. But now that I've crossed over, I my whole being has been cleansed. I can't even smell meat without it, where you really smelling the meat with the grease and the fat and things of that nature. And, you know, smelling that makes me feel nauseous. And I can't say that I can't say that I'm a vegan because of animals, but the more that I'm in this lifestyle, it comes hand in hand. Now, I have leather products, and I've had friends who I've converted, and they've, threw away their Louis Vuitton bags. They threw away whatever they're gonna throw away. That is not my ministry. I just won't repurchase. And that's what I tell people, and that's what I want people to know, that you don't have to necessarily jump out the window, but we want you over here, because the more of us over here is the more that we can do greatness together. So that's why I'm vegan, because I want to be great, and I want to be authentic, and I want to know that whoever I'm becoming, I did it without harming anything or anyone. And that's why I'm vegan.
I love that. Is it should I just go? I guess that that was beautiful, Angela. It's so interesting because my niece, who's in her mid 20s now and is vegan, went vegan a few years ago, but she had a major. It's not Louis Vuitton, but it's another big collectible
Gucci.
thing. Not that one either. Maybe it is Louis Vuitton. I don't know, but she's really into those bags, and she's also really into being vegan, and she won't ever buy a new one, but she hasn't quite found it in her heart to get rid of them yet.
Because it's already here.
Anyway,
It's already here.
yeah,
There's no need.
yeah. I mean, and she might have to figure out for herself if she wants, like, maybe the spirit will move her at some point that she doesn't want them anymore.
Well,
But
tell her to give them to me, because that's like thrifting. That is like thrifting.
Oh, I love thrifting. Anyway, okay. So my vegan story, I'm going to try to get it really condensed because it's a long one. But So I've been vegan for 26 years. I went vegan when I was 15 in high school. I was taking a class in our biology class. We had a dissection unit, and I had been a quote unquote animal lover as a child, but seeing it in front of me, made me connect the dots. And I was lucky enough to have a very forward thinking for the time teacher who allowed me to opt out of the dissection unit and just take do my anatomy via a computer. So it was probably like a Fred Flintstone computer, like all those years back. But anyway, seeing the dead animals in biology kind of, I couldn't hide from the fact of it anymore. And so I went vegetarian on the spot and just thought, well, I'll just, you know, oh, you know what it was I was taking a ski trip with friends in high school, and you had to fill out on the form whether you needed a special meal. And again, in the 1980s, this wasn't a typical thing. It was like divine intervention or something. But so I checked the box that said vegetarian, and I said, I will see if I can make it for one whole weekend being vegetarian. And somehow I did. And I just kept going. And I had ate meat up until, that moment I checked that box and went on that trip. And so I've been vegetarian ever since. And then 12 years later, I went vegan. I did not know anything about veganism when I went vegetarian. I thought that vegetarianism was the end of the road. I didn't know anything about the cruelty to cows and chickens. I didn't know anything about the leather or wool industries. I didn't know anything about those things. So to my mind, that was, like I said, vegetarianism was the end of the road. So when I met my husband, he was already vegetarian. And we went vegan together a year or two after we met. And we started veganstreet.com in 1998. And just kind of as this, I don't know, like a cheerleading website for the nascent vegan movement that we were noticing around us. And we had that going for a time. And then in 2013, we revived it. It was dormant for about 10 years. And then we revived it in 2013 because we were just seeing these memes on social media, and they were so poorly done. And my husband's a graphic designer and from, an advertising background. So we thought this is something we can contribute our skill sets to. So, anyway, we revived Vegan Street, and that's what we do. I'm not doing this to pitch us, but we're a marketing company for vegan businesses and brands and that sort of thing. So that's what we do. And I feel like what Laura was saying before, I so resonate with the idea of being vegan for selfish reasons. I feel like I am vegan for a selfish reason. I feel like it's the best decision I ever made. And I think that sometimes our passion of wanting to communicate to people that this is not about sacrifice, it's not about loss, it's not about saying goodbye to things, it's about really being, as you mentioned, Angela, the best person you can be. And it just opens so much up to you that I feel, for selfish reasons, I want to just communicate that to the world. And I know sometimes it comes off as zealous. So I've learned to try to tamp down on that a little bit. But anyway, I'm vegan for the animals. I'm vegan for all the many benefits, but the underpinning of it was always the animals. And all this other stuff is so much value added that I don't mean to diminish it. But I would be vegan regardless of anything. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
That's awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of you sharing your vegan stories, your vegan why. I relate to Kimberly a lot because we kind of have a similar path, even though I'm a little older. We have a similar path in the sense that when I went vegetarian at 19, I didn't eat vegetables. Onions, carrots, peas, potatoes, iceberg lettuce. That's it. That's it. My family was like, this won't last. Is what less. You're not gonna. You don't eat. You're going vegetarian, and the key thing about vegetarian is vegetables. Well, that's what we all think, right? It's not really the truth. It's not just eating vegetables. But I learned to I learned to love zucchini and squash. Hate mushrooms. Anyone who knows me, if you watch my show, you know I actually despise them. You don't have to eat mushrooms to be vegan or vegetarian. You don't have to eat every food on the planet.
You don't have to eat tofu, right?
You don't have to, right? Exactly. It's like, how could you be vegan and not eat? And it's like, well, how could you be like a human and not eat fill in the blank? Right?
Right.
Because you don't eat every food. There's no person that likes every single food on the planet. Just don't pick on me because I hate a certain food or a few foods. So like beets and sprouts. But I don't like dirt flavored stuff. That's my thing. My smoothies are not dirt flavored. That's
See, dirt
okay.
is my favorite spice. Yeah.
Right? People like literally drink like dirt flavored stuff. Wheatgrass, great for you. Not going down the throat. Kind of went on a tangent, but that's okay because that's what we're doing. Our vegan wise are helping you to understand who we are, who your hosts are, who we're going to be, our different personalities. Laura really showed hers right off the bat, and that's important because that gives you an idea of kind of where we're going to stand when we get into different topics. And like I said, we're keeping this one light and letting you get to know us. And next week, we're going to dive in because we're going body shaming next week. We're going inclusivity, body shaming. We're going to talk about that because it's a really important topic. And Kimberly is going to lead that talk next week. So just so you know, but I feel like we have an incredible group here for everyone to learn and listen to. And just so you know, I'm North Carolina. Kimberly's in unmuted.
New Jersey. Sorry.
Yep. Sangita.
North Carolina.
Laura.
California.
Angela Yvonne.
New York.
Marla Rose.
Chicago.
Illinois. In case you don't know, because we can't make assumptions. So we kind of are a nice segment of the country. Go ahead, Marla. You got something?
No.
Nope. So we're kind of a nice little like segment of a lot of the country that we kind of represent in the cities or the states that we live in, and kind of hopefully you can relate from where we're coming from. I'm not sure most of us are born and raised where we are. So that's one of those things like India, New York. So obviously Michigan, right, Laura?
Yep. I'm a Michigander through and through.
Angela Yvonne, where are you from originally?
I was born in Guam.
Guam. Yeah. So, and Kimberly?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. Sorry,
I'm so boring.
Okay. But that's what we wanted to provide everybody is a nice little segment of the country. And then of course we have someone watching from Canada. Darlene was watching from Eastern Canada. And Susan's here and Steven's watching. I know that too. And then who else is watching? And Tammy's loving each of your stories. And Richard, thank you. Also, very enjoyable stories. Really appreciate it. I think Richard is someone who watches Kimberly's show every week. So
Diane too.
Fireside chat with Kimberly. So that's awesome. Thank you for tuning in for everything that we do. So I'd like to kind of close this out. And each of you want to say something to close it out? Virgil,
I will say I'm just looking forward to this every week. I think it's going to be really fun, and I'm looking forward to diving in. Getting a little more tech savvy on my part.
I'm definitely looking forward to this.
It feels better that we've done it, right? We're actually live. We could have procrastinated and delayed this for like the next 6 months. We just had to do it with floods and weather and events and life. always going to be there, but
Mhm.
we can be here for everyone on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the Vegan Stew. And thank you for everyone who's watched. And if you have any questions or comments for us, please put them in the box and we'll definitely address them. Just so you know, this is an open forum. And granted that you're not live on video with us, but if you do have questions or comments, we want to answer them. Pretty much, you've got 6 women that could probably answer any question about veganism, any question, but we're not going to tell you any health advice or anything like that. We're going to ask you to go to your doctor because that's not our place. Just, we can just talk about what we know and we want to hear what you know too. So there you go. Oh, thank you, Diane. Really appreciate that. Really, really appreciate it. So
Be safe, everyone.
yeah, Well, I'm sure COVID will come up. Of course. It's going to come up in a second when I close this out. So don't worry about that because it always does. And thank you to Revolution Gelato. They're a Virtual Vet Trust Live sponsor of the month. So they're a new sponsor for us. And I just want to throw some social and love their way. Revolution Gelato, if you don't know, vegan ice cream, yum. And they ship. So if they're not in your Whole Foods, you can just get it shipped to your door, which is dangerous, but having grown up in New York, Manhattan, you can get ice cream delivered.
Yes.
So
Yes,
it's not anywhere else in the country really, but you can get ice cream delivered in Manhattan. You get anything delivered in Manhattan at pretty much any time of day or night. So
Yes.
yeah, it's the perk of living in a city that doesn't sleep. So anyone else want to have anything to say before we close it out?
I just want to say to everyone who was watching, thank you so much. This is just the beginning. And make sure you share. Tell everyone about it because this is an opportunity to, be an asset to your vegan journey. And it's also an opportunity for us to learn from you as well. So make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Tell your friends, tell your non-vegan friends, because, each one teach one. We're trying to convert.
Yes.
That's awesome, Laura.
Yeah, I didn't know we were Jehovah's Witnesses, but I'm cool with that. Could be not good.
I was like, Angela,
this is awesome. This is gonna be super fun, and I'm just excited to show people that vegans aren't super judgy, and we aren't the stereotype. And I think this is really going to be amazing. So thanks everyone for watching, and we're gonna be continuing to beat that stereotype here at the Vegan Stew. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week and every week.
That's fantastic. And Star, thank you for watching. Be kind in the house. Sorry. So yeah, thank you, Star, for being you. I was talking about strong women. A strong woman. AN. Yeah, that would be Star. So all right. So Kimberly, go.
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. So not only do we want to show that vegans are not super judgy, also vegans are not super skinny. We got some some chunky ladies and gentlemen amongst the vegan group. So you don't have to look a certain way in order to be vegan, and we'll talk about that next week.
That was perfect. Well, thank you, ladies. I'm going to close us out now, and we'll see you in a few minutes so we can go over what we just did. Right. Bye.
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 Well, thank you so much for joining us for the Vegan Stew for our inaugural show. Thank you, Virgilis. I can't wait for next week's show as well. And the fact that each of us will host, you'll have one of us doing what I'm doing every week. It won't be the same, which makes me really happy. I have my own show. I can do that. And let's talk about what I close out my shows with. Well, there's a virus out there, COVID. Please wear a mask when you go indoors. Actually, we're requiring masks at our events outdoors because it's a little dangerous out there. And I've been saying this probably for over a year and a half now. But when you wear a mask, please wear it over your nose and under your chin. Otherwise, it renders it useless. Because if you can breathe through your mouth without a mask, it needs to cover that. And it makes yourself safer. And you know what? All 6 of us are pro-vaccination. I can speak for all 6 of us. We've talked about it. Please get vaccinated, and so we can end this. And maybe we'll do this in person at events. We'll all show up in one place and have the conversation. You can be part of it. And that would be absolutely incredible. But we can't get there until we all work together. And that leads me to kindness. Just be kind to one another. It's really important. A lot of people are going through a lot of hard times, and we need to be cognizant of that and make sure that we just take a breath, be patient, be kind, think through your words, and, just move forward. Other than that, we will be back next week. Virtualvegfest.com. Go there to sign up for our Wishbone contest. You can win some really cool prizes from Follow Your Heart, Hodo Foods, Crafters Organic, Cinnaholic, I went out of order, Orgain, Revolution Gelato, and Terraseed. They have all donated prizes to us so that you can win them monthly on a monthly basis, which is absolutely amazing. If you'd go and enter our Wish Pond, very easy, virtualvegfest.com, hit the contest tab, enter our Wish Pond, get tons of entries for doing cool things like subscribing to our social media. And we'll add the vegan stew to that too, so we can grow our vegan stew channel. We really want you to subscribe and hit the little bell so you know when we go live, and follow us so we can help this grow, because we feel we're doing something that a lot of people can get value from. And you can see we really enjoy it. We really enjoy each other, and we hope that you will too. So we will see you next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Wednesday, which is 7 days from now, which is today, so it's the 15th of September. And we can't wait. So have a great night. And again, thank you for your support in us growing this, because, like we said, we're excited. Bye, everyone.